Now we're going to go to Paul Brown, who's from Wall of Sound in Australia. Paul, welcome.
What's up,
guys?
Paul?
Thank you so much for the opportunity to be here. And g'day, guys, and congratulations on 2 decades for such an amazing album.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
So the question I had surrounding this is obviously a lot of time has passed with mainstream media since 20 years ago. I mean, you think back to when Hybrid Theory first came out and you were up against the ranks of like Korn, Limp Bizkit, Evanescence, and from there, like mainstream media, radio and TV has seemed to move away from new metal, rock nowadays, that kind of thing. Do you reckon that you guys would have had the success you had like leading up to now if mainstream media didn't get behind rock and new metal back in the day?
I think one of the 39. My answer was 39.
Thanks so much for your question, Paul.
Yeah, great question.
That's what
I think what was really cool about that time is it was the super ascent of the internet, right? There was so much change going on. Like CDs were basically going away, and then Napster kind of came on the scene and then got in trouble, and file sharing and downloading. And we really rode that wave. Like we were making fans directly on our street team over the internet. And like, that was like a new, I mean, it sounds so ridiculous, but that was like a new thing to do. And
it was essentially before the MySpace era.
Yeah, well, and when we first started, Google hadn't even really become a thing. Like we were signing people up for our street team on a mailing list at our merch table, and half the people put down their snail mail address because they didn't have email yet. That was
That's so funny. I tried to explain. It was funny because it was like one of my daughter's friends. I tried to explain to her the other day why it was so important for us to get the linkinpark.com, like the domain name spelled correctly, because there was no Google to search it, and it didn't make any sense. But I was like, we couldn't buy the presidential spelling because the person, whoever owned that domain, wanted way too much money, couldn't afford it.
City of Chicago.
Yeah, right. But we were like, we knew we wanted to own the .com because that way people could find us. Otherwise, how would they ever find us on the internet? And she was just like, why wouldn't they just do a Google search? Like, why? I don't get it. And I'm like, Google didn't exist.
We're old, guys. Just face it, we're so old now.
Yeah.
When we were first, I remember we were on tour and they told us that the album was the best-selling album in the world, is what our manager said. And we were like, oh yeah, like in the world. He's like, no, literally in the world. It's the best-selling album on the planet. And I couldn't wrap my head around that because the two most popular things in music were the heavier rock thing that we were doing, and we were on that, leading that side of the thing. But the other side was Britney Spears and the super pop stuff and Max Martin and all of that. And so I couldn't still to this day, I still can't believe that because that seemed so big. Like TRL and MTV and all of those things that surrounded it seemed so big and pervasive. And the reason I joked with you when you first asked the question is that there was something very unique going on with what Brad was saying with the advent of the internet, the way people were connecting online, the fact that these subcultures of people who looked like they just walked out of a Hot Topic with their arms filled with bags, like found their people and they all connected, and they realized that they got behind certain things they had in common, and we happened to be one of them.
Absolutely. Hey, Paul, thanks so much for checking in with us from Australia. Good to have you here.
Thanks, guys. All the best.
Absolutely.